I have a panelist today that is blowing me away. This is someone that, first of all, he's Army. I hear all the cheers out there in the distance. Yeah. Uh, his name is Steve Brammer. He is a U.S. Army Iraq Purple Heart recipient, veteran, and chapter service officer of Hammond DAV Chapter 17. And I have to stop when I get to this point. I have to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
For your sacrifices for the nation, for all of us. And it's not said enough. Oh, thank you. But it's not said enough. And people have to understand what it means when you're wearing that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a discussion today, but it's about the 2024 DAV and Auxiliary Conference and Hammond DAV Chapter 17. And Hammond is not too far from where I am now. I'm actually living in Tinley Park. I moved there from Hyde Park about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
so I may have to stop by for a hot dog or something like that. I'm not sure what y'all serving over there. But
good pizza out there
you got pizza too? Oh, I'm sold. So how are you doing?
So we just had our conventions, our summer conventions, and for Indiana, the state of Indiana, their convention was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
We have a new commander, DJ Greer, and the national convention is actually going on. I think it just ended today, and that was in Arizona.
Right. Yes. I know someone who came back from that. Yeah.
It's next year's in Vegas, so hopefully I get to go to that one.
Ooh,
but
you shouldn't have told me that.
Maybe I shouldn't. But I've been with the DAV for about 12 years now. And, I credit the DAV and a specific individual named John Rodriguez was saving my life. And, when I came back from the Army, so I did one tour of Iraq in 2005 where I got injured. And when I came back, I worked for an engineering company. So one day in 2008, I kind of I wasn't enjoying life anymore.
Yeah.
So I left my job.
Yeah.
I had a fiance at the time. I left her and I moved to East Chicago, Indiana, and nobody knew where I was for 3 months.
Okay.
And for 3 years, it was a lot of drinking, a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
And that's when somebody brought me to the DAV, and they started helping me with my claim. And, up until that point, I just thought I had a drinking problem. But when they put this sheet in front of me that had the PTSD criteria, that's when I realized that I had, issues from the military.
Yeah.
So that I got sober. I've been sober over 10 years now.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. That is a huge accomplishment.
That is fantastic.
And and it's not easy, but it's something I work on every day, and I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of my story.
Yeah. It's a heart of a lion.
Yeah.
Overcome.
I love. That's why I wear the hat, because I love associating with veterans and meeting them, and I feel like the hat is what, they always come up and say hi, and then that's how I get to talk to other veterans.
Yeah, they told me to take my head off because my head's too small. Well, no, but that's fantastic. What part of Iraq were you in 2005? I was in Mosul. Oh, you're kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was at Base Merez.
Oh my goodness.
You were not.
Yes, I was.
No.
I went through that whole area because I was the FOB surgeon, but I was. We had all the people coming through there. It was a helicopter Voodoo. I remember when that came through, and that was Petraeus came on Voodoo.
Yeah.
He was flying Voodoo in. We had quite a few generals who were over there. I'm trying to think all the generals' names that were sitting there.
I cannot believe you were up there.
Yeah, because Second ID was there. Yeah. But they came out from Washington State, but their headquarters is in South Korea. But that was phenomenal.
Yeah. I actually got to Merez.
I love people in the military. But
yeah, well, we've been through something that nobody else is going to experience.
Right.
And like I tell people when I work on their claim, sometimes even going through the basic training or the schooling could be traumatic to some people.
Oh, sure.
Some guys coming back from the military is the traumatic event.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to it's different to be in the military, and the military dictates your life.
Yeah.
And it makes it, in some ways, it makes it kind of easy to where all you worry about is your buddy, your weapon, and your rifle. You don't have to worry about yourself.
Right.
And when I came back home, I felt like this was a very selfish and very just a world that I didn't connect to anymore. And it took a while to reacclimate myself to, you know, civilization, basically.
Right.
You know, but it's you know, helping other veterans is what drives me now.
Wow.
You know, I love it. I love it. I mean, the DAV
I have to
gave me the
commend you for
opportunity.
that. Yeah, because you know, there's so many veterans that need that help.
Yeah,
And that's the only thing that will make me cry. I mean, nothing else in life makes me cry.
it does.
But
It
that's
does, because it's hard. Some of these
well, it
guys
touches me.
can't acclimate themselves, you know, and it's
Yeah.
it gets worse because they don't know what's going on. So then everything just steamrolls and it keeps getting worse and worse.
Mhm.
And you know, they don't even know to go to the VA. There's a lot of vets from Vietnam that still don't know that they're entitled to benefits.
Right. Yes.
You know, and I credit the Vietnam vets with making the VA as good as it is today.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, if it weren't for them,
Oh, yeah.
we wouldn't have these benefits.
Yeah, that's when I joined. I joined in 1984, and but a lot of my family says 1884, but that's another story. But 1984, and I was over there at the VA hospital. It wasn't Jesse Brown.
Oh,
It
it's
was
West Side.
VA.
Yeah.
And I was looking at how veterans would be treated, you know, in general, by the media and everything else, the Vietnam vets. I said, I got to join. I had a cousin who I lost in Vietnam, and then my father and my uncles were in World War II.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, went back a couple of generations, but I started getting to the point where I said, I can't sit here and watch this happen to people.
Yeah.
And I signed up for 3 years. So the person who signed me up, you know, every time I shake his hand, I go like, "Sss," and he said, "What's that?" And I said, "That's the sound of shaking the hand of the devil." So he started laughing. But so he signed me up, and it was supposed to be for a 3-year track. It was 26 years. I just couldn't leave. I couldn't leave.
Wow. I wish I would have stayed.
Yeah.
I did 11 years. No, I did 9 years.
Nice.
And I got out, and you know how it is. I got out and I tried getting back in, but at that point they're like, "Nah, we don't want you no more.
Yeah.
You're a little too broken."
Oh yeah. Well, I was thinking about going back in. They sent me a rocking chair from my back porch.
You know, man, it's a different life. Being in the military is a different life. I mean, just a adrenaline rush. So I just explained to my wife on the 4th of July how it bothers me, because it's not necessarily the explosions scare me, but what it is if I close my eyes, the fireworks sound like a firefight.
Yeah.
And it gets my adrenaline pumping, and it gets me like I get super aware, and that's the feeling that I don't like. You know, I don't like that feeling anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's hard for it to come down, you know?
Yeah. And see, and that's why it's, you know, so vital for people like you who are looking at this with the VA benefits, because there's so many people who are out there every day that are going through things that, you know, we just take it for granted, you know, that, you know, everything's going to be taken care of. But no, it's not. You need to be involved. We need to be talking to our veterans.
Yeah.
You know, I call my battle buddies all the time, and, you know, and go to a VFW post and that kind of thing, and talk to people. But there are a lot of things that happen over there. People don't realize how it impacts you. And I got really upset when they had this movie Chirac, and I said, "Chirac, what the heck are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I said, "That's a game you're showing." I said, "That is nothing like what people are going through, sitting there for a year or two in the desert.
Yeah.
Nothing like it." So I just really feel good about what you're doing. But tell me, what is it that veterans can be doing to help other veterans? Because you've had the experience for 12 years of actually interacting with people and getting them on the right track. So you're creating, it's not creating miracles in that veteran's life only. It's their family members, their spouses, their children. Generations are affected.
I mean, that is the biggest, I don't want to say high, but when a veteran comes to me and tells me that they got 100% or 70%, and now they're not going to lose their house.
Right.
Now they're not going to lose their car. I mean, that feeling, that's what kind of chokes me up, is when I see that happen, you know. But if I were to talk to a veteran, the biggest thing I could probably tell them is they have to be their own best advocate. you know, because the DAV is there to advocate for them and we help guide them through the process. But they have to be the one to know like what to say when they go in these exams. You know, make sure that when you go and talk to your DAV rep, you're telling them everything. The biggest problem with veterans is we don't like to talk about ourselves.
No.
You know, half of us don't even realize what's really wrong with us.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you go in there, you have to be completely honest with the VA. And I tell them that, you know, you don't have to lie or exaggerate, but you want to be completely honest. Tell them the things that you're not telling nobody else, you know?
And they need to listen.
Yeah.
They need to listen when they're putting things down.
Yeah. Because that's the only way that it works. You know, the VA is the biggest government agency.
Right.
And, you know, it's a government agency. And when your claim, when you submit a claim, it goes like on a conveyor belt where it hits one person to get evidence. Then it goes to the next person. They ask for exam. So you don't have just one person to talk to. So if there's nobody that's guiding you through that, that could be very, very confusing. A lot of red tape. I mean, it's, I mean, so one thing I tell people is when they get stuff from the VA, they automatically just want to send whatever the VA is asking for back to them. Well, what I tell people is whenever the VA is sending you paperwork, they're sending you all of the applications. So don't just fill it out and send it back in, because now you could be stalling your claim out because you're sending them stuff that they don't need. Right. So it's good to have an advocate and somebody who can guide you through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's a difficult process if you're not familiar with it, and especially if you have something going on, you're not exactly the kind of person who's sitting there saying, "I want to get engaged with everything you have and figure everything out," you know. And that's one of the things is that sense of honor that you would carry. That, you know, nothing could be wrong with me because I'm invincible. You know.
Yeah.
And that's it may be true on the battlefield. You may be, in things that we're doing for, doing good things for the country, but that we're also human. And people have to realize that, that's something that we want to honor, we want to take care of.
Yeah.
When people have that kind of problem, a lot of times I go out and just give food to people under the viaducts and that kind of thing. When I see them sitting there, and some of them are veterans, some of them are not, but they're still American citizens who we swore to protect.
Yeah, and they're still people.
They're still people. They're still human, and so what is it that people need to know? Because a lot of people give up in the process, and they file claims in the past. Now the PACT Act is out since 2022, so it's pretty streamlined for certain conditions. The burn pits and all those things that are going on.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that process? What do people need to know?
So
because you go through
the PACT Act PACT Act was really good. I mean, it opened up some things like high blood pressure, opened it up for Vietnam vets with Agent Orange. There's a lot of good things that came out of that. The one downside that came out of it is the claims that have been submitted to the VA has increased tenfold. And, it's a lot. They had to do a lot of hiring for it. So there's a lot of people that are trained. And what happens is, your claim gets in front of somebody. If they interpret the law differently, your claim could get denied. And a lot of guys get frustrated and they want to give up. And I tell them, don't just give up. Stick with it, because the VA has safeguards to where they can correct those mistakes later on, and it does take a little longer sometimes, but you got to stick with it. And you got to, you got to learn what your claim is and what you're filing and make sure that you're doing the stuff that you're supposed to. The VA, like I said, it could become very confusing to deal with. So you got to make sure you're staying on top of stuff,
Yeah. But great. But you're helping people walk through that process, and making sure that they are, compliant with dates and times and all that. And then, you have, the veteran service officers.
Yeah.
And then you have, legal counsel outside. And I'm not sure if, I think the VSOs probably are more focused on, pushing the claim.
Well, it's their, that's their job. The DAV is an organization that has service officers that can service anybody in the nation.
Right.
Because we got an office in Chicago, we got one in Indianapolis, but they can help anybody. anywhere, and it's free.
Yeah.
You don't get no money taken off of your claim because of it.
Yeah.
So with these lawyers, what happens is these lawyers see like a lawsuit or they see a way in, and they start telling veterans, look, I could get you your claim faster. Okay. All I need is 30% out of your back pay. And they're like, that's not much. It's just your back pay. You're still getting your monthly amount. But what happens is now the lawyer is incentivized on making your claim go longer
for 10 years.
Yes, because the longer your claim takes, the more back pay you get. So they get more from it. So, and I'm not saying that they're taking long on purpose.
Right.
But you know, so the DAV specifically, I know that our national service officers, they have access to the VA system. Yeah. They can see everything the VA does.
Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit. You know, some of these lawyers, they don't have that access. Yeah. So all they're doing is the same thing that I could do, filling out the paperwork and sending it in. Right. So, you know, going to and it's not just the DAV, the American Legion does it, the VFW, you know, all these, I don't think the Purple Heart does it anymore, but the other organizations, they still do that. And it's crucial because I know our service officers specifically can talk to the actual VA. You know, so they can catch mistakes before it even happens.
Before it goes, it goes to that point of
and that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah, that could be the difference.
Navigate,
Well, that could be the difference between your claim possibly getting approved, or it can, you know, now you got to file an appeal. Now that could take 18 to 36 months. I mean, wow. You know, so those are the little things that the DAV can help with, and it's free.
That is phenomenal. You know, I think I can sit here all day with you.
Oh my God, we can sit here all day talking about it.
But so you know, tell me some of the you know, success stories, because I know you know, normally you go through things like that, and there's certain people that sort of grabbed you.
So actually, so I consider myself a success story. And what happened was, you know, you know, like I said, I started going through a bad period. Somebody brought me to the DAV meeting in Hammond. And what we did is we had a service officer that was coming from Chicago named John Rodriguez, who was working on claims at the meeting. So I went up there, they showed me the paper. I realized I had PTSD. They filed a claim, and within 3 months I had 60%. Wow. Then we kept going, and then I went all the way to 100%. Oh. And after that, I saw the value, and I started helping them with claims. And then that was kind of like, that was when I realized that I loved doing this, and I loved helping veterans, you know. And, you know, I found this one veteran. He called me in the middle of the night, and he had got my number from somebody, and he was homeless, living in Porter County in Indiana. So I went, picked him up, and I actually, and you know, I don't like getting political, but I called Frank Mervan. He was a trustee at the time in Indiana, and we got him set up with a hotel room, and then we started working on his claim, got him 100%, and now he's got a family, he's living good. Wow. And you know, those are the success stories that I love to I love to hear and do, you know.
I mean, it's like night and day.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. And, it could be a life changer for some of these guys. Yeah.
And you know, being homeless is no joke. I mean, it's being cut off from everything, you know, even yourself.
So I was homeless at one point.
Oh yeah.
During that period, at one point I had gotten homeless, and that was my breaking point. That's when they brought me to the DAV. And you know, so I can relate to a lot of these guys. You know, and it's not because I wanted to be. It's just, you know, so it's like what we talked about earlier. You know, what happens is, you know, you have a problem, but you don't know how to fix it. So what do? You don't just give up. You just learn to deal with it. You know, I didn't have a car, so what I do, I started riding a bike. Okay. And my bike got stolen, so I was like, well, I guess I'm walking. Right. So I just started walking, and you know, and eventually it just becomes normal. And you know, those are the patterns that, you know, some of these veterans got to get out of. You know, we got to help them get out of that. Right. You know, they think it's normal to have back pain and not be able to bend down. Right. You know, or the migraines that they get.
right. That this is part of life. I'm getting older, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's almost like the, with people who are incarcerated being institutionalized and that kind of thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But so I mean, what advice do you give to veterans? How can we help each other? Because you're, in a position where you're helping veterans, but what would you like to see other veterans do?
So I would like to see more of my generation
Mhm,
helping out
mhm,
because, like in my posts, my VFW posts, and others that I've been to, it's a lot of Vietnam vets,
mhm.
and these guys are getting older. And I feel like my generation is getting complacent and not realizing that the benefits we have now can be taken away.
Mm,
And
right.
every year when they have that budget come out, there's
Yeah.
always things that they're recommending to take away. Unemployability. I mean, there's things in there that luckily haven't been taken out yet, but they are always on the table.
Yeah.
And if we
Yeah.
don't start taking over for some of these Vietnam vets and
Yeah.
helping out, and the way to help out is
Right.
by
Yeah.
joining a VFW or a DAV, because
Mhm.
that's our voice in Washington,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. And so, joining a DAV, how does that differ from, a VFW and, for people who are listening and, the American Legion?
So the
That difference?
difference, to
Mhm.
me, the difference is the DAV, we specialize in claims.
Yes.
That's like our forte.
Right.
And the American Legion, they're like a lot neighborhood based. They
Yeah.
do a lot of community work,
Right.
and and same thing with the VFW.
Mhm.
But when they report down, like every year in the winter, it's called Winter Conference.
Mhm.
The VFW, American Legion, DAV, I
Mhm.
think it's AMVETS, they all go to
Right.
Washington. They talk to the representatives and the
Yeah. Yeah.
senators.
Yeah.
So when they go down there, they tell them, I have, for example, $50,000 veterans that
Mm.
want this bill to go through. I have
Mhm.
2 million, I think DAV is at 2 million veterans
Yeah.
that want this bill. So we
Right.
can actually give them numbers. But like I said, those numbers are coming down. We need more people to just step up.
Right. Right. And then we need to make sure that they understand it's 2 million veterans and their family members
Yeah. Yeah.
and their community members who are going to support them.
Yeah.
We really need to let them understand that this is something that is phenomenal. That you have people who actually step up to the plate and raise their hand to defend the Constitution and give them a place to have public debates and discussions.
Yeah.
That they have to become involved in how the governance of the country goes. The veterans were there to protect that right.
Yeah.
So making sure that they vote, making sure they get involved with veterans issues. It's okay to say, oh, it's okay to say that we have a veterans thing. She's giving me a break sign, but it's okay to say that we have veterans who have needs and all that. But then to go on to buying a hot chocolate or something like that and not thinking about it again.
Yeah.
Horrible, horrible.
Yeah.
We need to actually have people who actually act. So tell me what number they can get in touch with you at, or how should they get involved with the DAV?
I give my phone number. My phone number is
Okay.
219-712-4065.
Mm.
And if you need help with a claim, I can help you. If you need help with, joining, I can guide you. We have meetings throughout Illinois and Indiana. We have a DAV in Addison, Illinois,
Mm.
Oak Lawn. I think there's
Wow.
one in here in Chicago.
Mhm,
Then
mhm.
in Indiana, there's one in Hammond, Crown Point,
Mm.
Valparaiso, Michigan City. So there's a number around here. So if you need, we have actual service officers that go to those meetings.
Okay.
So you don't have to go to Jesse Brown to work on your claim. You can
Ah.
actually come to one of these meetings and talk to a service officer there.
Oh, very good.